Hello, everyone. My name is Bernardo Sim, and I'm a writer for Pride. Today, I'll be speaking with Trace Lysette about her new movie, Monica. So let's get started. Trace, I absolutely loved watching Monica, and I'm just blown away by your performance. My first question is, how early did you get involved into the making of the film?
The script came to me in December of 2016, and I read it and loved it and was ready to fight for the chance to play a title character because that's just, every actor dreams about that at some point, I think. But then I started auditioning for it early 2017.
Yeah, when reading this script, what stood out to you the most about the character of Monica?
I think her quiet strength stood out to me a lot. I knew that she represented so many of us trans women. I knew that um, her story was something that, I think we've seen bits and pieces of that story, but we've never seen it centered in that way. And that was it for me.
Yeah, I'm glad that you actually touched on this uh, quiet power that the character has because that's really what impressed me the most about your performance is that it's how much you could convey with just like one look or just like scenes that there's barely any dialogue and you understand exactly what this person is feeling. What were the challenges of playing that role?
Well, it was a lot of internal work, working from your gut and your heart, because there a lot of scenes there was no, script to there was you couldn't really lean on the dialogue there, it wasn't there. So um I think it's a really beautiful thing when you have to go inside and try to figure all that out and figure out a way to get all of that across to the audience. There was no easy scenes. uh every single day I was on set I had to cry at some point. And I never phoned it in, which I'm proud of. It just was all very real and grounded and like in the moment, I would say. So um it was a challenge. It was a challenge, but I welcome that as an actor. I welcome the challenge of having to get that across without a lot of dialogue and having to have this very specific framing that Andrea was using and how specific he is with his direction. I mean, he is a very specific director and a lovely person. So that was all part of it.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I cried a few times watching this movie. I thought it
Um,
was gorgeous, but also gut wrenching at times. Speaking of the direction, there was one particular scene where Monica is applying makeup to her mom, and the mom holds up the mirror, and it's on Monica's face, but you see the mom's frame here in the mirror, which was like the
yeah.
mom's face on top of Monica, and that was the first time I cried in the movie. So yeah, impeccable direction. How was it like working with a director that had such a specific vision like that?
Uh, there were times when I felt extremely challenged, in a good way. I remember there was a scene where I'm putting on her necklace in a mirror, and there was so much going on behind my eyes in that scene,
Yes.
and my one eye was barely in frame, and so there was a couple takes where I was nailing it in terms of emotion, but then they wanted a certain choreography, really. Like they wanted me to position my body in certain ways during that scene and then end in a certain like head tilt. And I'm thinking, this is the most specific direction I have ever received in a scene where I have to like kind of emote or almost cry or whatever, feel the truth of what Monica was feeling in that moment. And then to add like that kind of very, very, very minute, but specific physical choreography to that, I definitely feel like I reached new heights in my acting. I have never had direction that minute but specific in an emotional scene like that. And there was that happened several times throughout the film.
Yeah. I find that a lot of trans representation in movies and TV shows right now can either fall into categories of like being tokenized, and something over the top, where it feels like, you know, they're trying to show us that they have diversity, or they do it in a way where it's something that barely comes up in the plot at all, or it's something that gets addressed maybe once and like you never hear about it again. And I love that the script for Monica walks this line where the trans identity of the character is evident, which it should be, but it's also not constantly brought up in an over the top way. It's very much a story of a trans woman, but there are also so many other layers and things going on in this person's life. What are your thoughts on like striking that balance?
I thought they did it beautifully because what I have seen in the TV and film landscape is what you just described. It's either preachy and like shoved down your throat, or it's just a trope, a glimpse, a one-off, a one episode, and you don't even get to know the person, the trans character. But this was neither of those things. It centered Monica. There were no preachy moments. It was not exploitive. It didn't feel sensational.
Yeah.
If anything, it is a compliment to the audience, and in that this film has confidence in the audience in that they can think for themselves and they can produce their own thoughts about what is going on in this world and with this woman.
Exactly. I would go as so far as saying this is like a blueprint of how we should approach LGBTQ storylines going forward. Because I think it's a great balance of, you know, there's conviction behind the identity of this character, but it's also not preachy at all. And
Yeah.
it's amazing to see that. You've had a long
That.
yeah. You've had a long career and journey prior to Monica. I've been following your work for a long time. I'm a huge fan. On a personal and professional level, does this movie feel like a new step in your career?
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like it's solidified me in the kind of leading lady category. At least that's what I hope. I hope that there's a next chapter for me in terms of like playing meteor roles, fully realized characters. I've definitely been on my fair share of different TV shows, and this is the first time I feel like they gave me a full plate of food to eat. Like it just felt like, I don't know if that's the right analogy, but it's just like, I felt like this was the first time that I got a chance to really show the world what I could do with my craft. And that feels good because every actor dreams of that shot, that chance, and you just hope that you're ready for it. And I knew that I was, but it feels good to finally have it come out and get the seal of approval from Venice and the standing ovation and the words of encouragement and the messages I'm getting from trans women all over the world, and LGBTQ folks in general have written me from all over the world. And it's not even out yet. So, you know, it's been really beautiful.
Yeah. Speaking of that standing ovation, you received a massive standing ovation when Monica premiered at the Venice Film Festival. Can you tell me what was going through your head at that moment? I think it was 11 and a half minutes.
Yeah, it was. And Andrea told me they only stopped because the ushers came in and told us to get out because they needed the theater for the next film. But it was still a long time. It felt like a long
Yeah.
time. And it meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me in that moment, but I also had questions around what that meant for me. I went to the bathroom stall after we left the theater, and I just cried by myself for at least 5 minutes. Because what you hope it means is that it means safety and, you know, change is on the way, and what it means for the larger trans community, and also myself as an actor who has a lot of hard fought wins, that like I don't think any of my career was handed to me. And so when this kind of happened, when this standing ovation happened, it left a lot of question marks in the air for me. And I was trying to make sense of all of them at the same time. So I think that's why I
Yeah.
was so emotional.
Yeah. I have one last question because we're running out of time, but I'm going to get personal real quick. I really want this movie and your performance to get recognition from all the major awards. I don't usually say this just because I'm interviewing someone, but I literally love this movie. I loved your performance. I think
Oh,
this is definitely awards worthy, and I hope you are a contender in the major awards. My last question is, what do you hope audiences to take away from this movie after watching it?
well, thank you for that. I hope that people can walk away from this film and have the empathy and the courage to reconnect with whoever in their own lives, whether it's a loved one, um, or a friend or whoever. And I also hope that it sparks conversation, particularly with people who may not have a trans person in their life, or may not understand us. I hope it kind of starts this dialogue amongst people to kind of see our humanity more, especially in the face of all of the awful things that are going on right now for our community, the legislation and the the willful ignorance that I wake up to every day when I crack open my phone. I'm just like constantly, it feels like a constant barrage of that. And so I hope that this film can kind of create conversation.
Yeah, well, Trace, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.